Hi, everyone. Meteorologist Bill Rentschler and meteorologist Carmelo Lattuca in the 1011 Now streaming studio, bringing you another edition of the Weather Academy. Carmelo, it's been a couple weeks.
I was just going to say the same thing.
The schedules have kind of gone a little wonky for us sometimes, but we're back.
We are back, and we have an interesting topic today. I know we promised the winter outlook. That's probably coming next week. We have the NOAA winter outlook next week, so we're going to get the official latest data, because I kind of made a presentation, Bill, but we're calling some September stuff, and, we're 10 days into October, so we want to give you the latest.
We do want to give you the latest and the greatest. Like, and everyone wants to know, is it going to be snowy? Is it going to be cold? That Farmer's Almanac, it's just hogwash.
I mean, based on what I saw from, Climate Prediction Center, everything was in, the near normal category, so it wasn't really leaning one way or another. It'll be interesting to see if they change that at all. So, only time will tell.
It would just be nice to get something to fall from the sky.
Oh, my God. It has been so dry. Just the drought monitor change today was incredible. Just from 1 week.
Yep.
And I know this has been building, and, of course, it's,
Well,
it's
we
a
finally
cascading
kind of
effect.
tipped over the edge.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness. 4% right now of the state, no drought. So 96% dealing with some form. It's pretty bad.
So we'll get into that in another weather.
Yes.
Academy. Today, though, talking about something that we're going to see this winter. The National Weather Service is making some changes to their cold weather messaging. National Weather Service is always trying to simplify things a little bit. There are a lot of warnings and advisories. There are many of them that folks here in Nebraska have never, ever seen just because they're not relevant to our area.
Absolutely.
There's freezing spray advisories, things for coastal areas.
Right.
And so they're always working to just try and simplify the messaging.
Yes. It's, they work with social science people. They work with public relations. I'm sure they've collected a lot of data on this, really trying to simplify the messaging. And it's not that things are really going away per se. It's the way we're kind of consolidating the wording.
Mm-hmm. And so, without further ado, we'll just bring you the changes here. And you may have already seen some headlines and some articles about this because these changes went into effect technically on October 1st.
Right.
Obviously, it's not been near cold enough anywhere in the United States for us to actually see any of these in the real world just yet. But some consolidation. We saw this a couple years ago. We used to have flash flood watch and aerial flood watch and a whole bunch of flood. And so now it's just flood watch.
Right.
So just kind of we have to make things easier, make things hard. Let's make things easy. And so the changes. First one, extreme cold watch, which I looked up. We've never had one here in the state, according to data from the Iowa State Mesonet. But we've never had one. Extreme cold watch and a wind chill watch, which we have seen plenty of times, are now going to be classified as just an extreme cold watch.
So I wonder what the difference was if there already was extreme cold watch. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I just know I looked it up and we've never had one issued.
Right. So I guess the main thing that we're getting across is by combining these two, the cold doesn't have to necessarily be associated or, combined with the wind. Usually it is. I mean, when it gets that cold, usually, any light wind will cause it to feel even worse. But if it's cold with no wind, we can still issue this kind of watch.
Correct. And so and then obviously the same thing with the watches, the warnings, extreme cold warning and wind chill warning are now just extreme cold warning.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess the one thing really that's changing, because there was extreme cold warning, was extreme cold watch, the wind chill advisory, wind chills, being eliminated completely from this. It's basically be cold weather advisory.
Correct.
Okay.
Just a cold weather advisory. And so then the other two, which we potentially will see, or
couldn't see next week.
Next week, hard freeze watch and a freeze watch, and then a hard freeze warning and a freeze warning are just going to be consolidated to a freeze watch and a freeze warning. The qualifier there, a hard freeze watch or a hard freeze warning, was basically like, hey, if your first freeze of the year was going to be down to 25 degrees,
right,
28 or below, that's when you get that hard freeze watch or hard freeze warning.
And see, this I understand a little bit more. It just makes sense, to do freeze watch or warning, because you can have it in the messaging of the warning, be like, lows as low as 28, hard freeze likely, well, just calling it freeze warning, So I guess the only thing that's not changing with this is frost advisory. That one kind of just seems
will remain
frost advisory. We've seen those already this year, so I can't even imagine what would change with that, with the wording.
I don't know. Although we did have the very unique circumstance. This was last.
I already know what you're gonna say.
It was out in the Panhandle
Mm-hmm.
and the Sandhills, and it was one of their first sub-freezing temperatures of the year. But the messaging and this was from the weather office in North Platte in their forecast discussion, saying that it was too dry. That it was so, the dew points were so low, the relative humidity was so low, it was too dry that they couldn't even issue frost advisories because frost would not form because there was not enough moisture.
Never seen that. Didn't know why there wasn't any. We were both confused. I talked to Ken Shemek about it. He's like, we need to read the discussion. And then we both were like, never seen that before.
Nope. It was new. It was new. All right. So there's some criteria when it comes to this because we are obviously different than, say, people in Texas or Florida who might shudder at the thought of temperatures, whether they're actual temperatures or wind chill temperatures, 20 or 30 degrees below zero.
Right.
Most of the state, though, there are several counties in the Southwest, Dundee, Hitchcock, Red Willow, because they're technically part of the National Weather Service Goodland office. And those three counties, and I can't really tell. I was going to say maybe Dakota or Dixon, but I don't think they are. But most of the state, that cold advisory, cold weather advisory, temperatures 20 to 30 below.
Yes. And now this could be either actual temperatures, I mean, that'd be pretty bad by itself, or the wind chills. And most of the time it's going to be the wind chills because it's very, rare, uncommon.
9 times out of 10 it's the
right,
wind chill.
that we're not getting down to that cold. But, yes, so it can feel that cold, but we're just going to call it cold weather advisory.
Yes.
So the criteria doesn't seem like it's changing. It's just the wording.
Correct. And so then the extreme cold watch or the extreme cold warning is basically any time, again, regardless of wind chill or actual air temperature, it's 30 or below, you're getting an extreme cold warning.
Absolutely. And I think this just makes sense, honestly, because we don't call, when it comes to heat, we don't do heat index warning, we do heat advisory or excessive heat warning. So we're kind of just flipping the script when it comes to winter. So I get the messaging.
And so this is something, though, Carmelo, we will see in the state. I pulled up, this is the chart of the number of wind chill warnings that have been issued in the state of Nebraska going back to the mid-2000s.
Okay.
So this year, we've had 6. I mean, they're all back in January.
Right.
Across the state. 4 last year. I think that's 14 in 2022.
Oh, I remember that
the
one.
The highest number being 2013 when we had 15 such occurrences. But in all of these occurrences that we see here under the new messaging, you will see an extreme cold warning as opposed to a wind chill warning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like on average you're looking at least a couple.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, based on this time frame.
Yeah, and it's even higher. That was the wind chill warning. These are the wind chill advisories.
Not surprising this is higher.
You're looking at, I would say, anywhere between probably 15 and 20.
Okay.
Maybe 15 and 25 on average every year. And these, now these are issued, you'll hear us, and you'll see the messaging as cold weather advisory.
Right. So, like, when we show our graphics, we usually have it in all caps. The watch or the warning, and and the description will probably continue to say wind chills as low as this. So really just trying to make it more simplified for the people. I think people are gonna like this. I mean, I'm getting more behind it the more I talk about it. It kind of just makes more sense as I see it. Extreme cold warning. People know what that means without even have to explain that.
I still think it just sounds a little goofy.
You think it sounds goofy?
I mean, I understand it,
yes.
and I agree with it, but like it does roll off my tongue quite the same.
Right.
It will take some getting used to.
Absolutely. I mean, using wind chill advisory, wind chill warning, it's a very unique circumstance. I get it. It's all for the people, Bill. Come on.
It is all for the people. I don't even think I think we need a patch on our weather graphics in our weather system to even like have them pulled into our system. So it'll take some tinkering on our end.
Well, it's good that we're not expecting anything
no.
in at least the next couple of weeks. No. So that's good.
But we are expecting, it looks like, our first freeze.
Yes, next Tuesday morning, I've gone for a low of 32 degrees. Yesterday, 31, so, I mean, a slight difference. We're still a ways away. But, I mean, that's all it takes, Widespread frost, I think, is almost certain next week. Whether we get a freeze across the state in places that haven't gotten the freeze yet, still to be determined. Depends on how warm and cold we get. But, I mean, temperatures in the 30s next week. So, at the very least, we should see the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this season.
And if we did see it, it would likely only be for an hour,
right,
or two. I would not necessarily qualify it as a widespread killing freeze.
No, probably not.
So
because I haven't seen any 20s yet.
No, not quite yet.
Average is October 7th, I believe. First freeze?
On average, October 7th.
So then we'd be pushing into the 15th, 16th. So, a little behind average. But, I mean, the way this season's gone, it's going to feel like summer today. So, not surprising.
It is not surprising. So, pretty short, sweet, and to the point, though, today, Carmelo.
Absolutely.
Not a whole lot for us to really dive into. But
it's important for people to know.
Change. I go back to this January when we had the first snow squall warning issued for Lincoln.
That's a rare one right there.
Area, and it was the first one that was ever issued. They had been doing them for several years at that point, but no one had heard about it. And snow squall warnings trigger the EAS system, and so everyone's cell phones are going off with snow squall warning. And I can't tell you how many questions and how many people were like, "What the heck is a snow squall warning?"
Because with winter warnings, you see winter storm warnings that cover an expansive area. It's basically the snow squall was the equivalent of a severe thunderstorm warning. It's just small in coverage, probably the size of a county, maybe a few counties, but that's very rare. It's very inconvenient, we'll say.
It very much so. So yeah, just trying to get the word out, trying to let people know changes coming this winter, and when you see it for the first time, it'll probably be a little weird, probably take some getting used to, but that this is a change that will be happening. So next week, Carmelo, like we mentioned, we're going to talk about the winter outlook.
Absolutely.
We have that to look forward to.
I can't wait.
Next week.
Yes.
All right. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. As always, keep it tuned to 1011 both on air and online for all of your latest news, weather, and sports. Until next time, hope everyone has a nice Thursday.